Um, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Akhanda-mandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, firstly, uh, I think I need to pat myself on the back because yesterday uh, we had a marathon session where I managed to finish the recording of 9 episodes of the Bhagavad Gita on the go. So I think I've told you that we are doing these 18 minutes, 18 episodes of 18 minutes. Now it's all post-production, and I'll tell you as to when it is going to come and which OTT it is going to appear. We are having discussions with a lot of people. Completely, obviously, non-commercialized. So there will be no advertisements allowed in that 18 minutes and so on and so forth. So that's the basic argument that we are doing. I think you want to make money out of it, you can do whatever you want to, but not during those 18 minutes. And we are not charging money for it. So except to possibly recover the costs, I think we will be just asking for a certain amount, which will just recover the costs. So let's see as to what happens. We are talking with a number of OTT channels, and they all seem to be interested. Uh, so what I like is the fact that something very definitely not with mass appeal is ready to be consumed in today's content consumption world, where people are looking only at 1.5 minutes of reels. So that's something which I'm very happy about. Second, to the two people who in this group right now who were in the meditation camp, and you have been asking questions and talking. Great that you're doing that, but simultaneously, one thing you have to remember: the layers of vasanas that hide us from the reality. When I say hide us from the reality, I'm using the Aparokshanubhuti terms of experience, experiencer, and experienced. Is that can only happen when the mind is purified. So the continuous purification of the mind, you need to do japa. Japa has no substitute, right? So please continue to do japa. You may have certain very beautiful experiences while getting into the meditative state, but that can only lead to a certain level, and it will plateau off because the mind is still not ready for that particular experience. So, I mean, going back to Gurudev's words, there were only two. He had a 2-point formula: seva and japa. As long as you're doing seva, as long as you're doing japa. So seva does not necessarily mean that you go out and, okay, again, charity itself, when we go to a chapter 18, we will see that dana itself can be tamasic, can be rajasic, can be sattvic. So how you do dana, how do you do seva, the mental attitude with which we do it also makes a big difference. So with that, let us start. So up to verse 86, 87, what happened is, up to 86, I think, what happened was uh, the Acharya has very clearly established the fact that you are not the body, right? Now, if you look at, I am not the body, yes. Intellectual understanding of this fact that I am not the body is an extremely important aspect of the learning. Just by learning that I am not the body will not happen. Intellectually, it must become something that is my reality, my intellectual reality. It may not be my experience, but it must become my intellectual reality. It must become my deepest understanding that I am not the body. Now, that is what the Acharya has been expounding. So, therefore, he says, Evam atmanya avidyato deha dhyaso hi jayate. Dhyasa, adhyasa. Right? When we were doing Brahma Sutra, we learned adhyasa bhashya. Adhyasa means superimposition. We are the body is superimposed upon the self. So he says here that sa evatma parigyato liyate cha paramatmani. So what happens here? You see, what is the existence of ignorance? When does ignorance exist?
I mean, the Maya should have already done her work. That's how ignorance arises.
No, but Maya itself does not exist. Ya ma sa Maya. Maya is not existing. So now,
okay. I mean, you already have the ahankara is there. That's why ignorance comes.
actually, darkness doesn't exist. Ignorance also does not exist. They are absence of something else.
Absolute
Absence
knowledge.
of light. Absence of light is darkness. Darkness by itself has no individual existence. Right? Somebody's thing is causing. I think Parthoda, it's you. I'm going to put you on mute. Yeah. I put you on mute right now. I think there was a feedback coming in. So absence of knowledge is equal to ignorance. That is why Maya is said not to exist, because it is, while we are saying not to exist, it still exists because it is ignorance, and we know that it is there, and the effect of ignorance is also there. And we studied that last time when we were talking about it. I don't know how to run computers. I don't know, etc., right? So I don't know is a reality. But that reality is actually a negative reality, because it exists only because of the non-presence of something else. So when light comes in, darkness by automatically dissolves. You do not have to take darkness and take it away. You do not have to take light, knowledge and take away ignorance. There's nothing you can put in a basket and say, okay, let us remove ignorance. So here, very clearly, Acharya brings out that point, saying that the moment you understand that, and when I say understand, experience, that you are the self, the whole concept of me being the body, mind, intellect automatically dissolves. You do not have to, and I am not denigrating any particular methodology here, but by repeating that I am not the body or I am not the mind, or by repeating I am Brahman, it is not going to happen. Right? It can only happen when when I'm repeating I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am only Brahman, I'm actually deepening my body mind intellect identification. Because who is the chanter, who is the repeater, who is the person, all of that has to start happening. So when that self appears, that non-self by automatically dissolves, and that is where he now starts his journey again. And he goes to verse number 88, where he says that sarva atmataya jnatam. When I know sarvam atmataya as the self. Now our challenge here is this challenge. Sankhya as a methodology will take us to a point where it will establish that I am Purusha and the rest around me is Prakriti. But it stops there. And that therefore does not solve my problem, because there is always the other still there. The other is still there. So I have one Purusha, I am Purusha. Everything else is Prakriti. And then Parthoda is also saying, oh, I am Purusha and everything else is Prakriti. And therefore there are two Purushas. And the two Purushas can interact with each other and therefore cause problems to each other, right? And then Parthoda will say, no, I am going to unmute myself, and there is going to be a lot of feedback. It doesn't matter, but I am going to do it. Now, when he does that, I am getting a problem. But that is because there are two. And as long as there are two, there is fear that will exist, there is anger that will exist, as long as all of that still exists. That problem did not get solved. So Sankhya took me to a point where I was very happy with myself, but the world still existed outside. And the world was still causing problems to me. So to overcome that, where we need to understand is that there can only be, by definition itself, there can be only one consciousness that pervades this entire universe. That jump is a second jump that we need to take. So if you look at the whole stages of how that oneness is achieved, firstly, there is a limited oneness. Very, these are words which are causing a lot of difficulty. So there is a limited oneness in which I have understood that I am not only understood, I have experienced that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect. And I have negated by the fact of an experience of that self that I am. I have experienced that. Now, in reality, you experience that on a daily basis when you are in deep sleep. Every day, you are experiencing that. When the body has stopped functioning, the cognitive functions of the body have completely stopped, right? The autonomous nervous system is doing whatever it is supposed to do, and therefore the brain is prodding the heart to continue to beat and so on and so forth. But the rest of it, the body in reality has stopped functioning. The mind obviously has stopped functioning. The intellect has stopped functioning. Is it that the mind cannot create a reality when you are asleep? The dream sleep reality has been known to be sometimes so strong that it can cause there have been deaths that have occurred in dreams, right? And for that matter, when people do EEGs, especially when the epileptics and when they are doing EEGs, there are things that are happening in the mind state which are causing a physical reaction, causing the heartbeat to go up to 140, 160, right? But when he wakes up, what happens? That dream state is known to be irrelevant. It is a dream, right? Now this state, sarva atmataya jnatam jagata sthavaram jangamam, both the conscience, the sentient, and insentient, they all are only manifestations of. Now, here is the challenge here. They are manifestations of existence. Yes, I can understand that. They are manifestations of awareness. How do I understand that? Now, up to the tree, I can understand, right? Jagdish Chandra Bose did all his experiments almost 100 years back, and he proved way before the Western world understood it. And we, as in our Sanatana Dharma, we always knew that trees were existent as energy, they had life, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to go beyond that and say, what about the soil? What about the water that you pour on the soil? What about the stone that is there in the soil which you have to dig and remove before you planted the tree? Are they also sentient? Are they also bliss? Examine this. This is an examination, right? This is what you need to study. Because I will just give you a clue here. When you are experiencing the ananda of the Rasagulla, where did that ananda come from? From yourself. Correct? Where did you experience the ananda? Where did you experience it? Yes, in your mind. Absolutely. It was because it reflected in your mind, right? But the mind is non-material. It is non-sentient. This is only a clue. It is not the answer. I'm prodding you to do your vichara here. So think about it. Your mind is non-sentient, but it experienced ananda. When I say mind, your buddhi, intellect combined, right? Buddhi and manas combined. Mind, the English word mind. Buddhi, manas together. They experienced ananda from that Rasagulla. But both of them are non-sentient. They are only sentient to the point where consciousness operates through them. The moment consciousness moves away, what happens? Finished. Sukshma body, Sukshma Sharira may exist for some time as a bhuta or a preta, and then will dissolve. So now what happens? So somebody asked me, Hindus do 10 days of kriyas to enable this energy body to dissolve, and I can understand that. Your logic is it's a powerful logic, and I understand that. So what happens with other faiths? You see, if you look at all the ancient faiths, which are non-Abrahamic, they all have certain rituals. If you go to if you've lived in Singapore or Hong Kong, or if you've been there, you will see for a month they have this process that goes on. Right? They have this bound of rice that they put, and they put those incense sticks, and then they have those chantings that go on. Each system created something that enables them to resonate with that particular energy which is floating around and help it to dissolve. The Abrahamic religions didn't do that. They finished, okay, funeral over, right? And they had something called the wake. They would stay awake the whole night. That actually was because people used to be diagnosed with death while they were not actually dead. And then they would go into some coma and they would actually wake up. So they would stay awake. People would stay awake around the dead body and wait for it to wake up. If it did not wake up, they put it inside the soil. So he said, what about them? They said, that is why you have all these zombie and vampire movies only have Westerners in them. Right? No Hindu zombie comes around because he's disappeared. So, but jokes apart, the energy will dissolve. If you use certain kriyas to dissolve it, it dissolves faster. If you don't use any kriyas to dissolve it, it will take its time. No ghost of the Ramayana time is still existing here. It has gone, right? And the stronger the energy, we have actually got classifications for that. The very strong energy of the Sukshma energy that will go and stay, and they used to say it goes and stays in a peepal tree, right? And such energy is called a Brahmadaitya. Very strong, right? He stays around for a longer time. That's all. And he can't affect you unless you allow him to affect you. Right? If I have earthing, electric current won't hit me. But the Karana Sharira has moved on. The Karana Sharira has moved on with the bundle of Ananda, reflected Ananda that it has carried. So here we are going to say that the Jagat Sthavaram Jangamam, Sthavaram, how is it also existence, consciousness, bliss? Up to existence, I have understood it. Up to myself being Ananda, I have also understood that. Because the 50th Rasagulla does not give me the same happiness as the first one did. And therefore, by definition, the Rasagulla was not what had happiness in it. And therefore, the happiness came from me. Up to there also I have understood. What about the stone? Is it aware? Can it be? Can it have Ananda? Please, this is your vichara thought, right? Manan, area of Manan. He then says that abhavat sarva bhavanam dehanam jatmata kutaha. So it is because of the absence, abhavat, absence. Then here, what is he saying? That when the self has come into being, the entire this universe appears to be non-self. When I say it is false, he's not saying false as in false, because that word is something that is very, very wrongly used here. Not here, I mean wrongly used in many interpretations. When it says abhavat, it's not about not being there, but it is about, so I think Gurudev translates it very, very beautifully as saying unreal. Unreal. Abhavat does not mean absence here, but saying unreal. When it is unreal, we have understood it to be still there, but temporary. till there, but at a vyavaharika level. It is affecting only at the vyavaharika level. If I understand that everything that I am doing right now, what I am doing with you, right now, what we are conversing, this satsang, it is also at the vyavaharika level. So at the vyavaharika level, I can understand that this particular body that I can see wearing a white shirt, wearing glasses, is called Raghu. But what happens when that body, mind, intellect difference dissolves? This entire difference itself becomes completely vanished. And which is why, yes, I'll give you one second. Just an example here. Sri Thakur was in his room in Dakshineshwar, and suddenly he got up with a jerk. And he told somebody, I don't remember who he told, this is directly from the gospel itself, so from Kathamrita. And he told, tell that man to stop dragging his feet on the grass. Right? The man was actually dragging his feet, so the grass was being crushed. And Thakur, even while he was lying down, started feeding it. Now, is this a miracle? No, it's not a miracle. It is the reality of a person who has transcended the limitations of body, mind, intellect, and has become one with this universe. And this is not when he is in a samadhi state, mind you. This is in his natural state, he was in this. Right? Yes, Parthada.
I told you I went to Goa. Reached there on Saturday, Sunday I was there. Sea was more or less calm.
Okay.
Sky was cloudy. On Tuesday, it rained heavily.
Mm-hmm.
When the rain subsided toward the late afternoon, I went to the sea, beach,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Angelim beach. When we were standing there, I was looking at the waves, huge waves.
Mm-hmm.
And, with a fierce, force it was coming, waves were coming. And standing on the shore, I was having a fear very close to the water that it will just gobble me up. But it was all breaking at my feet. Suddenly I remembered that analogy of water and waves. We are like the waves. We are thinking we can do so much with our body, mind, intellect, but we don't know the underlying water. And the life is so short. The wave is rising and falling. That is our life, from birth to death. And we go and merge with the underlying water, that is the Atman. So it was in front of my eyes, and I was wondering that this is what exactly we are learning. And in 86, in fact, Acharya is talking about the same thing in shloka 86. So I was actually remembering you at that time. I was thinking that I will tell you when I meet that this is exactly the thing what you have been telling us.
So thank you, Parthada, for thank you firstly for remembering, but thank you for sharing, because while you were even describing, at least in my mind, I was actually seeing the description very vividly, and I was feeling the presence of Ishvara there, right? Even when you were describing it. So thank you very much for sharing. So let's move on. And he says here, therefore, when we look at this, he says now, it's a very beautiful, this 89 and 90, we will need to dive a little deeper. Atmanam satatam janan kalam naya mahamate. So he says, Atmanam, oneself, satatam, at all times, janan, knowing, realizing, kalam, time, naya, spend, mahamate, oh intelligent one. Prarabdham, he says, prarabdham akhilam, prarabdham, all prarabdham, akhilam. He says, prarabdham akhilam bhunjan, odvegam kartum maharsi. Udvegam means anxiousness, right? Udvegam kartum, becoming anxious. Udvega means anxiety. Aharsi, deserve. So he says very clearly that once that reality has been touched, right? And when I say touched, there is a reason why I'm saying touched. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say, one day, he was going to Calcutta in a carriage. And while he was going in that carriage, he saw this panwala. So even during his time, there were these panwalas used to exist, right? We see them now also. And early in the morning, and he was rubbing his pot. It was a brass pot. And you can still see that happening every day. If you go around, you will see that panwala. Early in the morning, he will take that pot and he will rub it with ashes or with mud or with the tamarind, and it will shine like gold. So Thakur said, see, he is making that pot shine like gold. Every day you have to make yourself shine. Every day. So then this person who was with Thakur said, but every day doing that, when will that have to stop? So he says, when you touch the Paraspathar. Paraspathar is called the touchstone, the philosopher's stone. When you touch it, what will happen? It will become gold. What do you do with gold? Nothing. It will become gold and it will stay gold. You don't have to polish it anymore. Right? You just have to touch. Brahma with Brahmaiva bhavati. When you touch Brahman, you automatically become Brahman. Finished. Story over. Right? Sri Ramprasad has a beautiful song where he uses in Gujarat, you say kaipoche. Similarly, in Bengal, we say bokatta. And he says that Ma is flying so many kites and one of them is cut and she says bokatta and she jumps with joy. That it is her play, this whole thing. And in that, touching that. So here, Acharya is very beautifully bringing that up, saying that prarabdham akilam bhunjan odvegam kartu maharsi. Now, because you have become gold, don't bother about the prarabdham. Now, what is prarabdham? Let us understand karma first. Karma, firstly, the effect of karma is very, very difficult to understand. Who is saying this? Not me. I don't say anything anyway. Right? So, Sri Krishna said that. Karmano gahano gati. He said that, if you remember. So, karmano gahano gati means it is the paths of karma are very deep. Not easy to find. Not easy to find the paths. Let me give an example. I don't know if I've shared this. What is the root cause of the Mahabharata war?
Bhishma could not tell Shantanu he is being.
Yes, correct, right? Very,
So,
very
yeah,
quickly.
that one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, even the devatas could not analyze the effect of this particular action. Oh, I will become celibate and I will remain celibate throughout my whole life. Bhishana, terrific. Such a vow taken by a Kshatriya whose duty is to produce children and progeny and create kingdoms has taken this particular vow. Rishis take this very easily. That is their duty. That is their duty. His duty is to create progeny, marry multiple women. And he has stepped away from it. Oh, Bhishana. Shower him with flowers. And his father gives him another boon. You will die only when you wish to die. Who wishes to die? Is this a blessing or a curse? You will die when you only wish to die. Only when you wish upon the death upon yourself, you will die. Poor chap, he had to therefore suffer from, say, December beginning to middle of the third week of January. Right? Around December middle is when the Gita Divas happens, right? So that is when the war started. And Bhishma Moksha Divas is the Ekadashi after the Makar Sankranti. So almost a whole period of 2 months. 10 days after that. So say one month and 20 days, he was lying on a bed of arrows. Still identified with body, mind, intellect. I want to know the outcome of this war. So therefore, I will not give up my body. Was this a blessing or a curse? Karma's action, the result of your actions, you don't know. We may have the result of our actions when we are. There is a story about Aneem Karoli Babu. There is a book about him, about miracles used to happen around him, like, leaves falling from a tree. Right? Automatically they used to happen, not that he was causing them or anything. There was this, you've heard one of his disciples singing, Krishnadas, right? One of my favorites. So when Krishnadas talks about this, so he says that Krishnadas had an Indian father, a gentleman called K.C. Tiwari, he used to call Dada. Everybody used to call Dada. So Dada is standing in front of Baba Maharaji, and he's shouting at the top of his voice, right, about another person. Don't you know what is happening with him? Don't you know how much he's suffering? Don't you know what is, and so on and so forth. And Maharaji very coolly says, yes, I know what is happening to him. But if I interfere, then he will have to come back. So what is happening with him is he's burning up his karma. And now here's the beauty. And he says, I don't allow it to go to a point where he will not survive. So I keep it at a level where he can tolerate. Now, I have this, my own life, what I've experienced is, you are tested only to the extent that you can take the test. And when you accept what is happening around you as merely a test that I have to get through, it becomes easy. So there was this period in my life where I was going through a bit of interesting problems, interesting challenges. There was a sort of financial thing that also was happening. Then there was a court case that I had filed, and then the person filed another case against me, and all sorts of things were happening at that point of time in life. And my mother wanted me to go to meet a particular Babaji. And I mean, those of you who know me, you know that I have very little faith in such things. But again, it was my mother who said it, so I said, fine, I'll go. This Babaji was not a renunciate. He was a pujari in a particular Shiva temple. So I met there. He looked at me and said, "Acha, wo Santoshi Mawali Santoshi Mawali ki mai ke bete ho na?" No great deal. My mother had told me that she's not spoken to him. No great deal. I look exactly like my mother. Even now, I mean, if I shave off my beard and everything and color my hair black and make it longer, I look like my mother. So no great deal. If you're observant, you can understand that. And then he said, तुम्हारा अभी शनि का दशा चल रहा है, and you need to go and feed a black dog, and you need to go to a people tree and put a tel ka diya underneath, and take black til and give it to a Brahmin, and etc. etc. So I looked at him and I said, शनि का दशा हो सकता है. I'm not saying no. Right? I have no objection to the astrological functioning of so many people, all these tutelary deities that are there. But I don't care. I will not do it. I just told him I will not do it. So he said, why will you not do it? Because, I mean, it was the first time somebody is telling him, no, I will not do what I am asking you to do. So I said, choti muh badi baat, right? Pardon my audacity, but I am going to quote Sri Goswami Tulsidas to you. And Goswami Tulsidas had said, Jab Raghunath Sahay, Rahu Ketu kya bigad kare. If Raghunath is with you, what can Rahu Ketu do? So he looked at me and he hugged me. And he said, सोना हो, मगर पता है ना सोना खरा कैसे होता है, right? How is gold made pure? So I said, fine. What will happen is you will get tested. You will be put into the crucible. You will be melted. You will be beaten. But ultimately, you will come out purer. Life did all that to me. It hasn't shaken. It hasn't shaken the faith that I have had in the fact that that is the way of karma. So if there is karma, there is effect of that karma. Cause and effect will always be there. Actually, for that matter, Gurudev used to say that you don't look at, yes, I'll come back to you. Gurudev used to say, there is no cause and effect. Actually, it is the rule of causes. Right? The cause puts into action an effect, which again becomes another cause and comes as another effect, and so on and so forth. Yes, Raghuji.
See, this whole perception of undesirable outcomes is undesirable because you're not accepting them. The moment you accept them, whether they are desirable or undesirable is no longer material. And very often what I have found is, when you accept, okay, what's going to happen, let it happen and all that, you suddenly feel that nothing bad has happened. You suddenly feel that nothing bad has happened because, okay, accept it. Once you accept it, it is not bad anymore. And when it is not bad anymore, nothing bad happened. So I find that people angst over undesirable outcomes is itself a futile effort.
You're right. But you see, so what does Sri Krishna say here? Sri Krishna says that the fruit of attachment is pain. The fruit of attachment is pain. He doesn't say it is pleasure. He says it is pain. The fruit of attachment is pain. Very categorically he says this. He does not say sukha dukha. He says dukha. Right? Ragotpanna dukha. When I am involved with zero attachment, what happens? There is no dukkha anymore. Be involved. And Gurudev's mantra, my mantra of life, it has been 100% involvement. 100%. Everything that is in this house that is happening, I am 100% involved. What will happen if the result does not come about exactly the way it is? I'm not attached. Move on. For that matter, one thing you could do is go back and examine whether you were doing everything that was supposed to be done in the right way or not. That's all. So we are not in control of our lives. We do get into situations which we are not going to be able to control. We accept them as a test and we move on. Life becomes far more easier to move through. So because what is happening with you right now, tapatraya, these are not in your control. Right? Grief caused to you because natural things have happened. Earthquake has happened. Now, there was this earthquake in Bhuj. And I know of a family, personally know this family, where this one lady, she went to the market and she came back. In this period, this earthquake happened. She was in the market when the earthquake happened. And that area did suffer damage, but she survived. And when she came back, the house that she was in, where she used to live, the house had gone down vertically into the earth. She could see the roof. And the entire house had been crushed in the earth. So everybody in that house, and what had happened is they were having a wedding. This was friends from Calcutta, and she had gone to Bhuj for this. They were having a wedding, and because of which all her brothers, all her sisters, all her cousins, they were all there. A family of 54 people. She had no control over this, right? She didn't cause it. In this life, at least she didn't. But there was some karmic relationship with this whole thing, which I don't understand. And I only understand this once I shift away from there and say, this is an effect of something that I put into motion maybe 5 lifetimes ago. I accept it, I can move on. But if I refuse to accept it, I get involved with it. So, tapatraya, first one that happens. Second one, it is caused by beings around me. Beings around me, my neighbor. Right in the middle of the night, every day, he has to hang a picture on the wall. My neighbor is a very good person. He doesn't do anything of that sort, but just as an example. Right? Or the people on top. Every day after 11 o'clock, they have to play Chor Police inside the house. You cannot control that. Now, your association with them itself was something that was predestined because of something you put into motion. I'm not becoming a predestination-driven person. I mean, we know that, right? We are not talking about everything is predestined. The future I can change. My attachment to the future I can change. So here he says, karma has, and since he's brought about this prarabdha, the whole idea of prarabdha, let me explain this in terms of karma. We've done this when we were doing Bhagavad Gita, but let's repeat it here. Number one is all actions. Firstly, I cannot get away from action. As long as there is a physical body, I cannot get away from action. Sri Krishna said that very clearly in chapter 3, right? Whether you are saying, no, I am sitting. Okay, sitting is not a verb. Sitting is a verb. You are acting, you are doing. I am going to the Himalayas. I will not be involved with this world. Going. Where have you gone? Gurudev used to say, you can go to whichever end of the earth that you want to, your mind will go with you. And if you're carrying that dirty mind with you wherever you're going, then it doesn't matter, you are carrying all the problems with it also. So by your distancing yourself from the physicality of that problem is not going to change the mental situation that problem has caused. So one is that we have to act. We will be acting. We will be working. Number two, as we act, there is a cause, there is an effect. There is a cause, there is an effect. That is bound to happen. All effects will not come at the same time. Simple law of physics only. Nothing very different. Physics also operates the same way. If all the acts have not been played out, you have a balance that needs to be carried forward. Right? From a professional perspective, Parthoda and I are in majority here. So we will use accounting language. Right? So you carry forward. And when you carry forward, what do? You need to settle that. But in the process of settling that, what do? You add more. So you again come back. And that's what you are doing. Now the whole pile up of unresolved karma has a name for it. It is called sanchita, accumulated. Sanchita. Karma that has come and already started in its action. The physicality of this body was an action. The fact that I am sitting right now, it is an action. Right? What is happening to me right now is what is called prarabdha. Is called prarabdha. Action, sanchita, put into action is called prarabdha. And then there is agami, future action. What is future action? Future action means because of what I am doing right now, there will be a natural reaction to this action, which I will do in the future. For example, right now, because I am talking right now, at the end of another 15 minutes, I will say end meeting. That is an agami karma. Then I will say upload on YouTube, agami karma. So there is some action that already because of the prarabdha, I will be forced to do tomorrow. I will be forced to do today. That is called agami. Now, general theory says that when I get into realization, the sanchita is no longer of any meaning. It will dissolve. Sanchita will dissolve because it has not been, it is potential, and the potential dissolves. All theories agree with this, right? Whichever method you want to use, Nyayika schools, you want to use you want to use the Sankhya school, you want to use the yoga school, you want to use the Karma Kanda, it doesn't matter. All schools agree with this. That the moment of realization means that the Sanchita karma will get dissolved. The moment of realization, the Agami will become irrelevant. It will become irrelevant. Will it not still exist? Of course it will exist, but it will become irrelevant. But what about the prarabdha? Oh, that is going to happen. That cannot be changed. That cannot be changed. Because you kicked a football. Now let us say you kick the football. What will happen to the football? The football is bound to move. It had the potential to move when it was sitting over there. You put it into motion, it is going to move. Right? The fan is rotating. I switch off the current. What will happen to the fan? It will continue to move for some time before it stops, isn't it? So prarabdha is bound to happen. All schools also talk about this. But Acharya in verse number 90 makes a beautiful shift. He says, Utpannepyatma vijnane उत्पन्नेप्यात्म विज्ञाने प्रारब्धम नैव मुञ्चति इति युच्यते शास्त्र. He says निराक्रियते धुना. Nirakkriyate dhuna. I am now refused. Nirakkriyate. Kriya means to be putting into doing, acting. Nirakriya, making ineffective. Literal meaning. Akriya, nirakriya, completely ineffective. What am I making completely ineffective? The theory that you said that after self-realization, prarabdha actions are not dissolved. Let me now refute this. In particular, I was in Calcutta at one point of time when I met Maharajji, which is, for me, Maharajji is Swami Atma Priyananda. So I met Maharaj and we were having this discussion, and he pointed this out without referring to this particular text at this point here. He said, you see, for that person who has realized, the body is also now become ephemeral. The body has no tangible reality. It is also part of the dream world. So for him, whatever is happening in the body has no effect. It has no effect. And therefore that prarabdha doesn't exist anymore. Because if there is no effect, then where is the karma? Because the definition of karma is cause equal to effect. If there is no effect and there is only cause, how can there be a karma? There is no karma, there is no effect. Right? So what happens? Actually, people around this person, they become very happy. Oh, we have found the realized one amongst ourselves. Let us enjoy his company. Satsanga happens. That is all that will happen. People around him will become happy. They will use this person as a tool. Those who are satsangis, those who are mokshattvas, they will use this person as a tool and they will try to get some benefit out of it so that they also move forward in their journey. But to this person, it doesn't matter. So, you know what, there's this very famous woman saint. She was believed to be a manifestation of the mother. Yes, the manifestation of mother herself. She was called Anandamayima. So Anandamayima, she used to do things very randomly, right? I mean, she would be sitting and suddenly she would just get up and walk. Or she would just get up and say, let us go to Ranchi. Now, there was no premeditation about that. And so when she was asked, she said, Khayal. Khayal. Whim. It's just a whim. This whole world has now become whimsical. It's all a whim. It exists only in my whim. It will dissolve when the whim is gone. So suddenly, oh, I feel I want to be in Ranchi. There's something that I have seen myself. Her ashram is in Kankal. It's a miracle, huh? Actually. So do miracles happen? Do they exist? Yes, we'll get into that discussion later. But she was sitting. She never used to have pravachan and all that. She used to be, it's just about being in her presence. So she was sitting. She was on a chair, almost like a throne. She was sitting there. We were all sitting on the floor. And suddenly she just stood up and then she sat down. And she was dripping with water. It was as if somebody just has poured a large bucket of water on her. She was completely wet. And then in about half an hour or 45 minutes, the wetness dried up. About another half an hour later, one man came in rushing and went and literally caught her feet and started crying. And then people around her, they managed to get him away and they asked her what happened. Said, my boat was drowning in the Ganga. Kankal is at the banks of the Ganga near Haridwar. And she came and she picked me up and brought me to the shore. We saw that happening when she got drenched. Her completely getting drenched was because, so this was just a whim. She got up, she sat down, she got drenched, she pulled out somebody from somewhere. Universal consciousness allows that person to be physically also completely at one. And hence miracles happen. It's not because miracles are something that they are causing to happen. They just happen. What is miracle? Miracle means something that is happening which I cannot explain by my science. That's all the meaning of miracle. My science cannot explain it. That is all it is saying, right? Yes, Raghuji.
Yeah, I had two things to ask. First thing is, sir, if I have an opportunity to go to Calcutta, or I wanted to know how I can meet with Prabhakar Maharaj. Okay. If I have an opportunity to go to Calcutta, then how do I get an audience with him? That's one question. Or does he even take receive communication by email or phone or whatever? And is there a way to contact him?
Yeah, yeah. So I will send you his email as well as his phone numbers. He doesn't typically neither receives the phone or email because of his busy schedule. So he has a secretary, and the secretary normally interacts fairly decently. I mean, the secretary is also a brahmachari from the mutt only, and also the fact that now the Maharaj is not traveling as much because the fact of age, also the fact that he is now the vice chancellor of the university, it doesn't give him too much of an opportunity to travel. So
he's not that old. He cannot be. He must be only in the 70s.
No. He's older. He must be around. He's crossed 80. He's definitely crossed 80.
Crossed 80?
Yeah.
See,
he's crossed 80.
When he taught me, he was. We were told he was in the late. See, okay, I would have been 17, and he would have been in the late 20s, is what we were told. That he was in the late 20s.
Doubtful.
But he already done 2 PhDs by then, so maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I thought if I'm going to be 65, anyway, I thought he'll be maybe in the late 70s.
No, so he's anyway irrelevant. He's gone through a lot of physical troubles, including anyway, forget it. He's one person who is not bothered with his body. So a lot of things happen, and he's also, I think he is diabetic, if I'm not mistaken. So or not, he's not diabetic. His body is diabetic. So he's very clear about it. So yes, of course, I'll send you his number and his email ID, and you can be in touch with him.
Thank you, sir. The second thing is, of late I've been doing a manan on an interesting problem I created for myself, which is take 3 entities: a common person, a realized master, a robot. I mean, whether you want to make it anthropomorphic robot or what, doesn't matter, a robot. So the thing is, how will each of these approach a problem, solve the problem, move on after solving the problem? So I found that this analyzing and thinking about this and looking at that is giving me very good insights on the realized master, the difference, how he is different actually from each of these other two. And one of the things, of course, was even in today's class, you said, what about a piece of stone that you had to remove to plant the plant? Does a stone have a conscience and all that? Okay. I think I have an answer to that. And again, it kind of drew from this thing.
So don't
I
give your
found that
answer
as a
right
very
now.
interesting topic
Don't
on
give
which
your
to do
answer
more
right now. Yeah, don't give your answer right now.
Okay.
However,
that's why I stopped myself.
to do an analysis of the different types of behavior of a realized person and somebody who's mad is an interesting story. So Sri Thakur had gone to Panihati. In Panihati, they used to have a Vaishnavite festival. And the Vaishnavite festival, in Vaishnavas, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas especially, don't cook in metal utensils. They cook in vessels made of raw mud, not baked terracotta. So they would use the vessel for cooking and then throw it away. And being unbaked, it would merge into get dissolved into the soil again. There's this whole heap of, it was a large Vaishnavite annual festival of Panihati. Thakur had gone there. He had lots of experience of samadhi and all that, and they were waiting. And there was this huge heap of all these broken pots with food stuck into them. And there was a man over there who was scraping the food from these pots and eating. And he was in tatters and dirty. And so as he was coming near, somebody took a stone and threw it at him and said, "Hey, move, move, move." And Thakur stopped him and said, "Do you know who he is?" He said, "No, he's a Paramhansa." Now, this person who is with Thakur has seen one Paramahansa, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahansa, right? He's seen Ramakrishna only. So now Ramakrishna he would be speak and span, right? He would actually have a very deep, neatly combed body, washed himself very cleanly, right? Wearing clothes which were beautifully ironed and all that. He was very spick and span. He could not tolerate dirt around him. So Paramahansa has to be like that only, right? Our own baggage. So he's a Paramahansa. How do you do? I mean, so Thakur says, and look at these words, please. I mean, these are words that you have to tie up and remember them always. He says, a lunatic drinks from the Nala and the Ganga, not knowing the difference between the two. A Paramhansa drinks from the Nala and the Ganga, knowing them to be the same. Reflect on this and see how that person, whether it's a robot, so-called insentient, or it is the normal, ordinary person, or it is a realized soul, the solution may still be the same. What happened inside may be completely different for all three. What happened inside? How do we deal with the world around us? And therefore here, very clearly he says, I will now refute completely the whole idea that your prarabdha, that which you are suffering, so-called suffering right now, is also completely non-existent if you have managed to understand that you are not the BMI. We will stop here for today.
Samit, just one point.
Yes, please.
He didn't say that there is no prarabdha. He didn't say that.
No, he didn't say. He said, I will refute that prarabdha has an effect. Basically, that's what he's saying. Let us look at the exact words. He says, he says that the prarabdha actions are not dissolved. I will refute that. I will refute. So the prarabdha actions are also dissolved. Now, what does that mean?
Okay.
The action can only be dissolved if there is no effect of that action.
Okay.
Right? Which is where he will go in later on. And I actually preempted Acharya here, but that is where we will go. So that is the answer.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.